Peace. Welcome to the Real HD Show. The Real HD Show is brought to you courtesy of Soundtrack Your Brand. Soundtrack Your Brand is contractual relationship with ASCAP and BMI allows us to play all records in their vast catalog, all rights reserved. This broadcast is not reserved direct strikes from social media algorithms because we have permissions. And the Real HD Show is also brought to you by 17 USC 106 fair use, video use for educational purposes only. And now, let's get to that intro. Peace. Welcome to the Real HD Show. And here is the teaser for the show. What has one eye and can get away from you in a flash. And it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Stick around and get you some. Welcome to the Real HD Show. A higher discussion. I'm your host, Vic, the victorious one. Why am I the victorious one? Because through this dynamic dialogue, we can plan and strategize to all be victorious over the issues that plague us as a community, as a people, as a nation, and a race, and be victorious in all things. You know? So here we are on the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. And what is the Real HD Show? We bring you those super dynamic headlines, but we heal them with freedom music. That's right. That's one of the components of the Real HD Show, but you have to tune in. You have to tune in early, 7:30, not 7:30 to slang, but tuning in early, 7:30 to get the freedom music moment where we play all those conscious records that get you going, that get your battery charged, that put a battery in your back so you can go out there and do good things for yourself, your family, and the rest of the 21st century. So we back, and we're back with this in mind. A new stop and frisk. Popo uses facial recognition software at concerts to profile people. Wow. And that's absolutely recently. That was just the other day. Drake had a concert in New York City, with 21 Savage and others. And cops were waiting outside, filming people. But before we get to that, the Real HD Show is recruiting you. That's right. We need you to do all things that are part of the Real HD network. We want you to come along, join along, you know what I'm saying, in this unified song called the Real HD Network. And we're going to let the ditty that you should have seen online by now speak for itself. Check it out, Real HD Show. Peace to the family. Happy 2023 because we are recruiting for the Real HD broadcast network, that is. Let's break it down. The broadcast network is coming at you in 2023 with news and awareness, teen culture, music and production, Amazon, college sports, pet show, live music, sneaker show, black anime, and much, much more. Tune in to the Real HD broadcast network. All shows on the Real HD broadcast network are in need of hosts, panelists, IT reps, PR reps, social media managers, producers, and metaverse specialists. And if you've ever dreamed of hosting your own show, being a panel on a real interesting show, or anything behind the camera, we got a lineup for you. We got some dynamic things popping in 2023 on the Real HD broadcast network, where Afrofuturism becomes reality. All right. So we are back on the Real HD show. And I just want to let you know what's coming on the Real HD network lineup of shows. You got the Real HD show, which is our news and awareness show. You got the Simply Supreme show, which is our teen empowerment show. You got Broadcast Beats, one of a kind producer show. You got Sipping After Dark, a relationship based show. We got the Big House Breakdown, our college football show. We got the Amazon Shopping Black First on the Real HD Network. We never had a shopping channel devoted strictly to melanated people and their needs. That will go down on our Amazon Shopping Network with 3 P's, right? Then we'll have the video music experience. That's right, the return of video music. And then we have the Pool Society Cannabis Culture Show. And then we have Sneaker Madness, showing how important melanated people and then consumerism and their creativity and their longevity was to the evolution of what is $1 billion industry worldwide, which is sneakers. And then we got Pets du jour. How do our melanated folks feel about our pets? We're not all dog killers. We're not all abusers of animals. We love our domesticated pets. And if you do and you want to be a part of any of these shows, let me get back to the particular clip where there you go. And let me open it up. You can contact me at any of these emails, and you can contact me at this number. Please text only and let me know. Email me, let me know what show you'd like to get down with, whether you'd like to be a host, a panelist, or something indifferent. Thank you for your support. And now back to the Real HD show. Yeah, man. Peace, y'all. You know what I mean? We had to show that real quick to let y'all know what's popping on the network. And I and people like myself, down with the Real HD staff and others, will be recruiting at a location near you. So don't I might show up at, your Black Empowerment Marketplace. I might show up at your local transit center. I might show up at some spot in Manhattan, some spot in the DV area, some spot way down south in Florida, Texas. Doing a lot of traveling. We are recruiting nationally and across the diaspora for all these great shows that the Real HD show is going to launch in 2023. So get involved, get it while it's hot. Don't wait when my joint blow up and then everybody's like, yo, I remember when they were asking for folks. Boop, 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 boop. Now's your chance. Get in on the ground floor running, and let's becoming what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Real HD show. But we here for this. A new stop and frisk. Popo using facial recognition software at concerts to profile people. Wow. So this is very, very important. And that's a real picture that happened a couple of days ago. Going crazy on Twitter. Got about 4 million or more people checking this out. This is outside of the Apollo Theater at a Drake concert. And police were uh, out there in full force, captains, lieutenants, majors, and they had this brother with a camera in his hand filming people as they come in and out of the Drake concert. Don't believe me? Check this out on the Real HD Show. Yeah, I'll run it back one more again. I know it was a quick vid. Yeah, man. So the way I understand it, right, is that folks were coming out of the Drake concert, and this brother was standing there, filming every single person that came out of the Drake concert, right? And it looked pretty peculiar what they were doing. And we know that across the country and over the last, since BLM, and maybe even before, even though it was unlawful, and even though there isn't any policy written to the effect, we know that certain police and crime units have been using drones with AI facial technology within it to do facial recognition and to apprehend people outside of ever committing a crime. You know what I mean? And this is a super violation of your right to privacy. This is a super violation of your right to your Sixth Amendment rights. And stop and frisk, when it was instituted in New York in the Giuliani days, right? It was abolished because in a court of law, they showed you and they told you how these laws were unjust, and the way that these activities, I should say, these activities were unjust by police officers. And they accosted some 7,000 to 8,000 people, trumping up minor charges, jailing people on minor offenses, giving them criminal records, so on and so forth. Even created a warrant culture amongst the Black community nationwide because of stop and frisk. And then, you know, other city states like Baltimore, Philadelphia, New Jersey did very similar and have very similar crime and task force. So I want to draw your attention to a article, right? And here we go. So I want you to look that for a minute, and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to read a little bit from this article. And then we'll kind of dip in and out. I'm going to try to keep it to a byline so we're not too long-winded. But I think it's important to read something like this and to really get into the nomenclature that goes into this so that we get some truths told. And the muckrakers are out right now. The muckraker being new media, and we have the muckrakers of the day covering this. And the reason why the Real HD brings these articles to you in the fashion that I do is just so I'm not blamed on being xenophobic or being a conspiracy theorist or any of the sort. This is real deal reporting, and my sources are legit. So join me in reading this article. I'm going to pull it up. Because it's way past bedtime for these type of dastardly tactics that they call policing. And then again, if you've watched my show and I talked about Davos and the World Economic Forum and environmental social governance, I believe this is just another bold step at attempting to institute ESG and social credit scores and the like by getting as much detailed information on people as they can. So this article comes from Amnesty International, right? And it says USA facial recognition technology reinforcing racist stop and frisk policing in New York, says new research. And this was last year. This was February of last year. But that cop who was filming the Drake concert and people coming out of it was doing so just a couple of days ago. So it says now white neighborhoods in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens live with CCTV surveillance. Now, new interactive website details exposure to the invasive technology. New Yorkers live in an area at far greater risk of stopping frisk police and also exposed to invasive facial recognition technology, says Amnesty International has revealed. New analysis as part of the global Ban the Scan campaign has proven how New York Police Department vast surveillance operation particularly affects people already targeted for stop and frisk across all 5 boroughs of New York City in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens. The research also shows that the higher proportion of non-white residents and the higher concentration of facial recognition compatible CCTV cameras. Quote, banning facial recognition for mass surveillance is a much needed first step toward dismantling racist policing. Yeah, we're making their job easier. The shocking reach of facial recognition technology in areas of the city leaves entire neighborhoods exposed to mass surveillance. Who's that looking in my window? Wow. Nobody now. Yeah, man. So, we're talking about a fishbowl approach to policing, and they're getting help from CCTV and facial recognition software. According to the NYPD, use facial recognition technology in at least 22,000 cases between 2016 and 2019. And that was before BLM and C19. Data on incidents of stop and frisk by the police since 2002 shows that Black and Latinx communities have been the overwhelming target of such tactics. Now, if you've lived in a city or you lived in New York, or even if you just lived in the East Coast, you know that you had those red light cameras on the lights, and they were giving you using facial recognition technology, not only on your face, but on license plates and your vehicle, and would ticket you, and it would often be wrong, and you'd have to go into court and fight those red light cameras. Last year, Amnesty International sued the NYPD after it refused to disclose public records regarding its acquisition of facial recognition technology and surveillance tools. The case is ongoing. Now, this was as of February 15th of 2022. Yeah, so that's the piece with that. And then on Twitter, there's this one sister on Twitter who calls herself the logistics sister, and she wrote that brother was filming, the cop who was the brother was filming the incident in lieu of social media experiment that the cops were doing to be more neighborly, and put this all on social media. So this was supposed to be, according to them, this was supposed to be a PR moment. Now, how many people in this particular scene, I'm going to play it back for you, and you can look and tell me what you see. I'm going to pause it too when they get to the cops. When they decorated it. Okay, so you see all those gentlemen in the suits, and I'm sure that's a captain, the one that wears the hat, right? The one that wears the hat with the bars on it. I'm sure that's either a captain or a major or a lieutenant in the police force. He's somebody big. Do you see them greeting anybody? Do you see them sticking out their hand and shaking hands? Does this look neighborly to you? Does this look like a social media moment where they're trying to show a more friendly humanitarian side of the NYPD toward its New York constituents that pay their salary through taxes? Does this look like this at all? No, it does not. This looks like they are filming for a direct purpose. Filming for a direct purpose. Now, the reason why I bring the articles is that I don't want anybody talking any foo-foo nonsense about how we are just talking out the side of our hat. You seen the Amnesty, you heard the Amnesty International article, and now we'll go to another one about rogue cops and what the rogue cops do with this facial recognition technology brought to you by a certain company. Because this is violations of all kinds of habeas corpus rights, due process rights, right to privacy rights, all kinds of laws are being broken here in an effort to uh, be, what's the movie with Tom Hanks? It was Vanilla Sky or one of those movies where the cops would, if you thought of a crime, you got arrested. All you got to do is think of a crime. Terry stop to the nth degree. Okay? So now I'm going to put this up and we're going to rock out with this particular article. Right? Let's put this up real quick. Rogue NYPD cops are using facial recognition app Clearview, right? So it says rogue NYPD officers are using sketchy facial recognition software on their personal phones that the department's own facial recognition unit doesn't want to touch because of its concerns about security and the potential for abuse. Clearview AI, which has scrapped millions of photos from social media and other public sources for its facial recognition program, Facial AI, earning a cease and desist order from Twitter, has been pitching itself to new law enforcement organizations across the country, including the NYPD. The department's facial recognition unit tried out the app in early 2019, which is really what I just read you, as part of a complimentary 90-day trial. Wow. So see, even cops got to be online on some trial basis on these apps, right? It's wilding out. But ultimately passed on a citing a variety of concerns. Those included the app creator, Juan Ton, that ties into videohole.com, which is involved in a widespread phishing scam in 2009, according to police sources. The NYPD were also concerned because Clearview app could not say who had access to the images once police loaded them into the company's massive. So that's interesting. Another Asian-based company like TikTok controlling millions and thousands upon millions of pictures that they get access to do the policing. And we know Asian markets control the United States and the United States economy, and therefore control how America acculturizes itself. But it hasn't stopped dozens of cops from outside the department's facial recognition unit from using the app to this day, with a company spokesperson claiming that the last photo search by NYPD officer was registered at 10 8:56 a.m. on Thursday. And this article was written written today, January 23rd. So last Thursday, an officer used that piece of technology. Numerous investigators from around the department are using the app to this day, with 36 active accounts using the program for months and logging thousands of searches. The Clearview spokesperson said it's not clear why the NYPD officers won't face any disciplinary action, but the department said it was not aware of it being used for case work. Okay, so it's not being used for casework, and you have it right here. What the hell is this? If this is not being used for police work, why are those detectives looking so stout, looking so stoic? They're not interacting with the public. And this brother, who is forced to do this laborious work, is doing it at the behest of his freedom and the freedom of his people. Because I guarantee you, if someone gets a ping with a warrant, they're getting snatched up. Cry now, ask questions later. I don't care if it's for a ticket. I don't care if it's for armed robbery. I don't care if it's for illegal substance. If they get a ping on something negative on that facial recognition app, which the cop is using on his cell phone, which you can see, he doesn't have anything greater than a phone and a selfie stick. Probably department issue. And this is what they are doing to brothers and sisters in New York City. They're not outside of Central Park doing this. They're not on the Upper East Side doing this. They're not on the Lower West Side doing this. They are outside the Apollo Theater in gentrified Harlem, filming folks for their database coming out of a Drake concert. Out of control. But there's more. There's more. So I want to bring your attention to this. The NYPD has misled the public about its use of facial recognition AI with Clearview. So let me pull that up. Give me a second to load that up. And as you can see, we go deeper down the rabbit hole of obscurity and accountability in the name of the NYPD. And why are they doing these things? And how are they allowed, in the name of the 10th Amendment, which activates police powers, how are they allowed to do this and not have a violation of privacy laws and a violation of due process if they in fact snatch someone up because their face is a match for something? I know I'm gonna forget everything I want to say and do in the midst of all of this, but we're gonna try to get to as much as possible. So the NYPD has misled, right, the public about its use of facial recognition AI, Clearview AI, right? So BuzzFeed News, right? NYPD early 2020, stating it had no relationship with facial recognition software company Clearview AI. Documents from new police records requested reveal that the company was acknowledged vendor to the department as early as 2018 and continued to enjoy relationship with the officers on a force long after. The NYPD told BuzzFeed in 2020, quote, "This does not have any contract, agreement, or relationship with Clearview AI, formally or informally." BuzzFeed said that it had no institutional relationship with the company. However, documents obtained through public records requested with help from Legal Aid Society, who litigated the document, contracted these claims. Um, these documents, which include emails and official contracts, are signed by Clearview co-founder Juan Tan and authorize a Clearview trial ran from December of 2018 to March of 2019. They showed that the New York City Police Department, the largest police department in the country with about 36,000 officers, um, has a close and previous unknown relationship with Clearview that included in-person meetings and customer support from Than That. Clearview, also known for having scrapped 3 billion photos without permission from platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, has distributed its software to thousands of police officers around the country. So I want you guys to know what's happening, especially in my hometown in New York. Um, March 2019 through February of 2020, officers continued to sign up. It's free program, which gives people an unlimited amount of searches for 30 days. The email also reveals that NYPD tested Clearview on one of its own officers. A use of the software that Clearview has explicitly encouraged in the past, asking users to search for all their friends. And as a matter of fact, in another article, it also says that some of the officers searched their loved ones and girlfriends to find out what they were up to and what was going on with them. Yeah, let me see if I can read another one that has a. Says the relationship between NYPD and Clearview app appears to have begun in October 2018 when Clearview co-founder Richard Schwartz emailed NYPD officer Lieutenant Gregory Besson, whom he had just met. Emails show that Besson connected with him with Deputy Inspector Chris Flanagan, who creates tons of wanted photographs on the Financial Crimes Task Force list during the week of October 15th. So, um, Schwartz told Besson that he was personally highly committed to the success of the NYPD. And why wouldn't you? If this sort of technology was found useful, this would be a long-term contract for Clearview from the largest police department in the country, and then other police departments in the country will follow suit and use this technology. And this is more money, more money, more money for Clearview app as the NYPD and other city, state police departments abuse the constitutional rights of its people, and melanated people that always suffer with the savage inequalities along suit will always be abused in these scenarios, because that's just the history of it. They target us first. You don't see, like I said earlier, you don't see them on the Upper East Side or the West Side or the gentrified parts of Brooklyn, the Barclays, using this facial recognition software. You see them in the heart or the Mecca of Black uh, culture, which is at the Apollo Theater, getting this in. You know what I mean? So we know about this, man. And check this out. NYPD cops use facial recognition app to identify suspects in spite of. So it says rogue NYC Police Department officers are using a controversial facial recognition app on their cell phones to help their investigations. So according to the first article, the NYPD didn't have contracts with um, Clearview, right? And now in this particular one, it's posted all over the internet that these particular jokers have helped their investigations with this intrusive, abusive, uh, abusing right to privacy, right, app that they're using here. And everybody was this, right? NYPD uses facial recognition to track down Black Lives Matter activists. And all de Blasio said was the standards need to be reassessed. But what did they do with the reservoir of facial recognition, the reservoir of grown pictures that they took of folks who were in the protests, and did they use that to exact um, arrests and warrants? There's another app that says over 18,000 mistakes have already been made with facial recognition software. Why? Because the initial way that the internet and online apps were designed were initially unfavorable to the uh, dimensions of Black faces and Black facial features, and therefore makes many, many, many mistakes when using facial recognition in an AI capacity when it comes to Black people. So their own racist undertones and overtones are come back to bite that ass, because the the internet was designed to, in a lot of ways, and online apps in a lot of ways were designed to be a social inequality for Black people. And now that you have this facial AI in tow, it's just it allows the technology to make more and more and more egregious mistakes identifying people. Someone with the same nose structure or someone with the same eye structure, because the specifics weren't ingrained into the internet or online functionalities, just these broad-based composites of facial features, they can't uh, accurately identify folks that they're trying to track down. And a lot of people go to jail falsely over this facial AI. This reminds me of a story we did about maybe a year and a half ago over a bank robber that used CGI and created a black face mask for himself. He was white, and he created a black face mask that was a prosthetic, so it looked real. And he was running around um, robbing banks all over, I believe it was California, right? And the images were so lifelike. The CGI that the guy was using was so lifelike that when they did facial recognition software to mimic what his face looked like, the dude who they used as the test dummy, the black guy, the faux face of sorts, his mother even believed that he was doing those crimes because it looked just like her son. But all it was a gross generalization of his facial AI composite. But the mother was ready to believe that dude robbed 3 or 4 banks because his face was connected to those crimes. How you like it? So we know way back when, not way back, but a couple of years back, when Black Lives Matter first kicked off, they were using this to identify protesters. Not only protesters, but looters. And I remember right here in the great planet of the rock, upstate Rochester, New York, over 700 warrants were handed out illegally because they were using the facial AI to identify people who they thought were involved in those lootings, right? Even though a lot of people got paid to burn and destroy property because those people would get the insurance money, right? But before we shut it down, because I wanted to bring all of this to your attention, and please, my people in New York City, in the state of New York, be on your toes, keep your head on a swivel, do your due diligence. You might want to wear a mask around crowds of people, especially when you're in the midst of Popo, so that they don't get a good gander on you, and maybe even use facial recognition software in their body cams. We don't know how far down the rabbit hole this crap goes, right? And then, of course, there, it happened outside of a Drake concert, right? And everybody remembers years ago when the NYPD launched its rap unit to monitor crime at hip hop concerts. So you don't think that in that clip I showed you that wasn't the rap unit monitoring people outside of that hip hop concert? Man, you better wake up. You better wise up, because that's what it is, and that's what's going on with most people. And now you see Young Thug and Gunna and all these people wrapped up in all of these charges related to crimes, um, and they're using their rap lyrics against them in a court of law, which, depending on the state, is being vehemently fought against. But as of right now, they can still do it. I think I'm not sure of the ramifications of that in Young Thug's case, and I'm not sure about the ramifications of that in Gunner's case. But I do know I have a cousin who's under some jailed processes and legalities, and they were attempting to use his rap lyrics against him in his case. So all of this is real. It's a real deal, Holyfield, real in the battlefield. And it's popping in real time right now. But never fear, to wrap this up, there is a story that I want to read real quick that will give a glimmer of hope and somehow set the thing right, which is about a way that activists has used facial recognition and facial AI, artificial intelligence, right? That ignites the facial recognition software and tech, right, against Popo. And I'm waiting for my uh, thumbnails to get me to that specific place. And once I'm there, I will pull it up and we can rock and resolve. Um, okay, here we go. I got it pulled up on this end. Let me spotlight it on your end so you can see what we're doing and how we putting a smash on this farce of a thing. And here we go. Activists turn facial recognition tools against the police. We're now approaching the technological threshold where the little guys can do it to the big guys, said one researcher. Well, let's go down. This is early September. The city council in Portland met virtually to consider sweeping legislation outlawing facial recognition technology. The bill not only will bar police from using it on unmasked protesters and individuals captured in surveillance imagery, but it would also prevent companies and a variety of other organizations from using the software to identify an unknown person. So that's what we're talking about with this Clearview app, right? The very thing that this article denotes. During the time for public comments, a local man, Christopher Howell, said he had concerns about the blanket ban. I'm involved with a deep facial recognition to the fact used on Portland police officers. I'm involved with developing, this is what he said, Christopher Howe, developing facial recognition to in fact use on Portland police officers. Over the summer, the city seized demonstrators against police violence. Leaders of that department had told uniform officers that they could tape over their name. I remember that, and a lot of people remember that. Mr. Howell wanted to know would his use of facial recognition technology become illegal. So you got developers that don't just work on behalf of big corporation and big government, they're working on behalf of the people. Portland's mayor Ted Wheeler said a little creepy, but a lawyer from the city clarified that the bills would not apply to individuals. The council then passed the legislation with a unanimous vote. No doubt an emergency session, so nobody can challenge it. Mr. Howell was offended by Mr. Wheeler's characterization of his project, but believed he could keep working on it. There's a lot of excessive force in Portland, he said in a phone interview. Knowing who the officers are seems like baseline information. He said that the police had tear gassed him during a midday protest in June, and that begun researching how to build a facial recognition product that could defeat officers' attempts at shielding their identity. This was, a kind of a shower thought moment. Best ideas happen in the shower, and just a kind of intersection of what I know how to do and what my current interests are. Accountability is important. We need to know who's doing what so we can deal with it. And I agree, because right here in Rochester, there were a lot of injustices before, during, and after the protest season on a lot of people, families, and communities, and finding information on these officers so that you can file lawsuits against them and take away their qualified immunity is very hard because you cannot identify the officers and their information wasn't readily available unless you put in a 25A or 50A complaint to Albany and wait that process out. Law enforcement has used facial recognition to identify criminals using photos from government databases through a company called Clearview AI app from the public internet. But now activists around the world are turning the process around and developing tools that can unmask law enforcement in cases of misconduct. That's right. So that's right, folks. So if you're out there and you are in the thick of it and you see NYPD and they claim that they're being social stewards, but what they're really being are uh, spies like us and using all of these things to the detriment of the public, please whip out your phone. Please get a badge number, get an ID, get a name, write it down, get a squad car number, because sometimes the squad car numbers can lead to the officers who are riding in the squad cars and lead to bigger, bolder accountability for NYPD and all the PDs around the country that want to do all these dastardly invasions of people privacy. So protect each other, man. Love on each other in the NYC. Heed this information, my brothers and sisters, as you go about your traverse, as you go about work, as you go about your days, because this can mean the difference between life and death to identify somebody, or it can mean the difference in somebody reclaiming, claiming damages from the NYPD and others for violation of their constitutional rights. So I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. This is your brother. We are right within an hour. This was the Real HD show. If you guys are so inclined, like, share, subscribe, follow heart, all that good stuff. We are on every social media platform known to man. especially the big four: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow us. Let me know how you feel about this episode. Leave me some stuff down in the chat about what we're talking about, man. This is super, super pivotal. What we're talking about. This is invasion of your constitutional rights. It's the new stop and frisk. Popo using facial recognition software at concerts to profile our folks. Yeah, man. And it's your man, Vic, saying peace and walk with power. And join me as we recruit for the Real HD and as we continue our 2023 season. You know what I mean? We do this for a prime time reason. We are prime time with a purpose. Don't get nervous. We always go below the epidermis. We are the Real HD show. We get deep enough to swim in. Join in. I want to see you next time on the show. Giving up what you know. Let's create this think tank. You know what I mean? So we can be careful and be more prosperous in the rest of the 21st century. Peace, y'all. Walk with power. We out.